Hi, Jake here again with my son, who I did the review for 2014's Godzilla with. We're back to review 2017's Kong Skull Island. It's the second movie in this monster universe. The movie, first of all, we'll talk about it being the second movie in this monsterverse. Between Godzilla 2014 and Kong Skull Island, which one did you prefer?
Godzilla. Okay, just kidding. King Kong.
King Kong. I thought the Godzilla movie was actually a better movie, but I think this one is more fun to watch. There's a lot more of the monsters, and it's just like the action just keeps coming. It's very like fast-paced, exciting movie. And like I said, I think that the Godzilla movie is better, but I think that this one's a little bit more fun to watch. The movie stars John Goodman, John C. Reilly, Tom Hiddleston, and Brie Larson and Samuel L. Jackson, which it's kind of crazy because this movie's almost like the Avengers versus Kong, because it's got the actors that played Nick Fury, Captain Marvel, Loki, and I don't know John C. Reilly's character, but he was in the Guardians of the Galaxy films. So yeah, there's a lot of Marvel cast that's in this movie. The movie starts out in the 1940s during World War II. Two planes crash onto Skull Island. One is a Japanese soldier and another one is an American soldier. And they immediately have at it and they fight each other. And they end up getting interrupted once they see King Kong. And it just shocks them both into stopping the fight. It's a pretty good way to set up Skull Island and kind of set up John C. Reilly's character. There's one part of the fight where John C. Reilly grabs onto the Japanese soldier's sword, and yeah, it was pretty gross. It was a very gross way to start the movie. Then the movie cuts to the 1970s in Washington, where John Goodman is trying to get financial help to get to Skull Island. He wants to check out the place. He says it's one of the last uncharted places on the planet. And he ends up getting the ability to go there, and that's when he starts recruiting the other characters, Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, and Samuel L. Jackson, among others. One cool thing about the scene in Washington where he's trying to get financing for the expedition is they have a reference to a 1954 incident, which is the first time Godzilla appears, which that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool, just like right out of the gate, they're bringing up these crossovers and connections with Godzilla, which obviously is going to pay off this year with Godzilla vs. Kong. But they have a couple of references with Godzilla in this movie, and at the time that was pretty exciting. The first person that they go to recruit is Tom Hiddleston's character, and he had a pretty cool fight scene in this bar. He fights some guys with a pool stick. And we also have John Goodman recruiting Brie Larson, who is a war photographer. She calls herself an anti-war photographer. She's a very anti-war, peaceful kind of girl, and she's a photographer. And she's my favorite. Personally, she's my favorite character in the movie. And then after her, they get Samuel L. Jackson, who is a military general. And that's pretty much all the bigger characters, and they recruit some other characters, but those are the big ones, the big named actors that are in it. They go to Skull Island, and the first thing they do is what's the first thing they have to face when they're trying to get to the island?
The very dark cloud.
Yeah, there's a giant storm. Yeah, there's a giant storm with some crazy lightning, and they end up making their way through that, and they get to Skull Island. Once they get there, it's pretty much the movie really takes off at that point. They start dropping these bombs on the island, and Kong is not too happy about that. He stops them from doing that, and it's crazy because Samuel L. Jackson kind of villainizes King Kong in the movie. He kind of makes him he thinks that because King Kong kills some of these soldiers, and Samuel L. Jackson kind of acts like King Kong is the bad guy, even though realistically, they're coming into his home, dropping bombs. Of course, he's not going to be happy about this. Some of the other characters, Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson's characters, they understand that this was them invading Kong's home, and you see that Kong kind of takes care of this island. He takes care of the people. He keeps balance on this island, and them coming in and destroying, dropping bombs immediately, it's like obviously something that he's not going to be cool with. But the other characters kind of have compassion for Kong, and that really plays into the final act of the film. But we kind of see through the movie that Kong really takes care of this island, and he takes care of the people on the island, and he kind of like keeps balance in this place. There's a lot of crazy monsters on this island too. What was the favorite monster that you saw?
Skull crawler.
Yeah, there's the skull crawlers, which are kind of like the main monsters that Kong fights in the movie. And then there's also, my personal favorite was this, it was like a spider, but it had like lobster claws. That was pretty cool. Remember those?
Yeah, my favorite animal on that island had to be the bowl-like thing.
Oh yeah. There's all kinds of crazy creatures on this island. One of them is one that we don't even get to see, but John C. Reilly is talking about these ants. He's talking about watch out for the above in the trees. He's like at the top of the trees. He's like, there's ants, and we hear a bird chirping, and he's like, that sounds like a bird, but it's an ant. So we don't really get to see the ants, but it was amusing. But with that being said, that brings us to John C. Reilly, who is the character at the beginning, who's the World War II veteran who had fallen into Skull Island. He's been stuck there for like 30 years. And his friend, the Japanese guy that he started fighting with, you find out that they become great friends in this, in the time after them being stuck on Skull Island. And he's pretty much just trying to get back home. You find out that he has a son that was born after he left for the war, so he hasn't gotten to meet his son. His son's, at this point, almost 30. And he's not got to meet his son, and he's like thinking about his wife and whether she's moved on and things like that. And it's kind of exciting to see his journey from being stuck on this island to wanting and trying to get home. And you really feel for the guy. He's also hilarious. He was every line he has in the movie is pretty hysterical. He also has some pretty good lines. He's talking about how really at the end of the day, the only reason that him and the Japanese guy that he became friends with were fighting was because they were from different countries, and he has a line that's like, outside of the uniforms we were brothers, which really like outside of, like, once like you take away their responsibilities to their country, they were just two humans that were doing very similar things, and they were and once the war was kind of not in their focus anymore, they became great friends. And I thought that was kind of a sweet thing. There's one scene that you brought up when we were watching it with the where Kong was fighting the squid, right? Because what did you say about that?
Kong got a rematch with the squid from Godzilla vs. King Kong from the beginning.
Yeah, he was. It's funny, he has a fight with this giant squid, which is something that happens in one of the other films too. So it's kind of funny, them bringing that back. So the main story in the film is them trying to get to the other side of the island. It's the new characters along with John C. Reilly's character, who's been stuck on this island for 30 years. And they're trying to get to the other side of the island where they're going to be rescued. They're all trapped on this island. They're trying to get to the other side of the island where they can, get away and return home. And they end up, having plenty of difficulties on the way. We find out that the bombs that they dropped near the beginning of the movie woke up the skull crawlers. So Kong fights two of them earlier in the film, two of the smaller ones, but the climax of the film is Kong fighting the larger skull crawler. And what do you think about this skull crawler? Is that a character that you like a lot?
No, but I'm pretty sure the new one is gonna have more of a bigger part, because every time we kind of solve him, he's kind of like Kong just automatically won, because when we saw him fighting the small ones, he beat them.
Right.
And then the final fight wasn't even that long, it was like 10 minutes.
Right. So yeah, it was, the skull crawlers, they were okay. They were definitely not, I thought the Mutos in the 2014's Godzilla was better. You don't like those better?
No.
You like the skull crawlers?
Yeah, the third Muto is better though, because it's the one that survived.
Well, I don't know, like, really the Mutos and the skull crawlers are both kind of cool, but like, they definitely don't hold a candle to, like, all the classic monsters like King Kong and Godzilla and Mothra and characters like that. But if you had to pick 3 things about this movie that really stood out and your favorite 3 things, what would you pick?
The ants.
The ants, the ants that you don't get to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really funny. That was an hysterical little line.
King Kong using that tree as a bat.
Yeah, King Kong uses a tree as he like pushes all the limbs off of it and then uses it as a bat, and that's pretty cool. And then what's the third thing?
Where that guy just randomly where's that guy who was lost in the woods in it when he started sending that log and it turned into actually an animal and he was so confused.
Oh yeah, there's one creature that one of the soldiers are sitting like up against this like big log, and it kind of just stands up and it's just a giant insect. That's it's pretty cool looking thing. My three favorite parts of this film were, first of all, the soundtrack. It's got a very like 70s soundtrack. Two songs in particular that stood out to me is a David Bowie song and a Black Sabbath song. So that was kind of exciting. I always like, that's music that I'm really into, so I was happy to hear that. I also liked just the way that that Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston's characters kind of related to Kong. There's one scene where they decide that they're gonna help Kong and like make sure that Samuel L. Jackson doesn't kill him, and they just kind of like stare at King Kong. They're just like locking eyes with each other, and you can just tell that Kong's not a bad creature. He's just trying to protect his home, and I thought that was kind of a beautiful moment. And then the other moment is my third favorite thing is Samuel L. Jackson. It's kind of crazy because he's kind of really the villain of the movie. And it's like him, like you kind of understand his reasons for why he wants to kill Kong, but at the same time he's kind of psycho in this movie. The first time you see him kind of losing his grip on his sanity a little bit is there's one scene where there's like all these flames coming up, and Kong and Samuel L. Jackson just kind of lock eyes with each other. And it's super dramatic. It happens a couple of times in the movie, but yeah, Samuel L. Jackson he does a great job in this movie. I really like that. Like you can understand where he's coming from, but at the same time you can tell that he's he's losing it a little bit. Then the final act of the movie is kind of during the credits. John C. Reilly's character, who was the one that had been stuck on that island for 30 years, he ends up making it back home, and he gets to meet his son, and his wife is there, and she's been waiting on him, and it's a beautiful moment, and I really that got to me while watching the movie. It was nice to see that character who it was really like I said, Brie Larson's my personal favorite character, but I think that John C. Reilly is really the heart of the movie, and I think that his character getting to be back home with his family finally was it was a great way to end the film. So yeah, like I said, I want to say with every review of these monster movies, at the end of the day, the human characters don't matter too much, just because this is a monster movie and the monsters are the stars. But John C. Reilly did a great job. I thought all the characters did a great job, but John C. Reilly was really pulled at the heartstrings. But really, the only thing that could really make this movie any better is if Jeff Goldblum was in it. So as far as Kong Skull Island goes, the rating. What rating would you give it?
Good.
Good? I would also give it a good. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's fantastic. But it's definitely a fun movie, and it's enjoyable and well made. So I would definitely say good. And it's definitely a good introduction to Kong, which we will see more of in Godzilla vs. Kong this year. There's also a after credit scene in this film that is a little teaser for the next movie that we'll be reviewing leading up to Godzilla vs. Kong, which is where they're seeing all these cave paintings, and it shows all the monsters that are in the next MonsterVerse movie, which is Godzilla King of the Monsters. So that was kind of exciting to see that they were setting up more. Yeah, that'll be the next movie that we get to, and personally I think that it's the most fun out of the three. So we'll be getting to that soon, and after that it'll be Godzilla vs. Kong that we'll be talking about. Until next time.